Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. House of the Dragon, Episode 4, The Red Dragon and the Gold. The Dance of the Dragons has finally begun. We have our first major on-screen battle. Dragon warfare is so brutal. Destruction on all sides. It's pure carnage. Fans have been screaming out for dragon action. 3 episodes of build-up and it's worth it. We have one of the best battles in the entire series. Not only House of the Dragon, but Game of Thrones. The action on the ground was solid, but the true drama is in the skies. But saying that, you cannot sleep on the moments leading towards it. And we'll start with Damon Targaryen at Harrenhal, and it gets weirder and weirder every single week. Damon's ignoring ravens from Dragonstone, he's trying to rally the River Lords, but he's distracted by literal ghosts of his past. Young Rhaenyra returns, and he actually beheads her, and he also gets to see his second wife, Laena Velaryon. And we also get a creepy Damon-Aemon hybrid, and we believe this has been caused by the witch Alice Rivers, who knows far too much about Damon, but she claims Harrenhal is haunted, as Harren the Black tore down the Weirwood Grove, and those that came before, the Children of the Forest, are very angry because of this. And the very bed that Damon sleeps is made from one of those weirwood trees. And she also gives him some sort of drink to help him sleep. But that just makes his visions even worse. I think it's unlikely we'll ever know the full truth of what Damon's experiencing. Whether it's a weirwood vision, or a dream induced by this witch, or the castle itself. But I think in the end, Damon will realise he is a monster. He has created monsters. But it will lead him to becoming a better person and doing the right thing, even making the ultimate sacrifice, but not for himself, but for others. And at the start of the season, I was very worried about splitting up Damon and Rhaenyra because the chemistry is off the charts, and together they are at their best. But we knew Damon had to go to Harrenhal, and I was worried it'd be quite boring, him just having meetings with all these River Lords, but the show's found a way to make it very, very interesting. But speaking of the River Lords, Damon's not having much luck. Lord Tully is bedbound, and in his stead his heir arrives at Harrenhal to treat with Damon, and his heir is nothing more than his child. Damon does suggest that he offers his grandfather to become the Lord Tully, but that's not Tully's style. Tully's style is allowing your bannermen to do what they want when they want, as we saw in Game of Thrones with the Freys, as we see now with the Brackens, who have sided with Egon. However, House Blackwood is more action-orientated. But at this point, Damon is just distracted by these hallucinations, dreams, or visions. As for Sir Criston Cole, he's on the move. He's conquered Duskendale and beheads their lord. And Rook's Rest, the seat of House Staunton, is in the Crown Lands. That's his next target. It's a small coastal keep held by Lord Simon, who's a member of the Black Council. Rook's Rest is an important location, as taking it would cut off Dragonstone from the land, but the key to Cole's plan is to force Rhaenyra to send out one of her dragons, as he has Aemond and Granny Godzilla in the waiting. Rhaenyra is far too important to come herself, we know this. She doesn't want anyone to die for her, but the council knows that she has to stay on Dragonstone, because if she dies, it's all over. And this is a direct parallel to the Greens, who also reject their monarch's decision to go out, but unlike Rhaenyra, he doesn't listen to his council. And at this point, both councils have been fighting, but the Green situation is far worse. Many of the Black Council are bickering, and the Lords are very loose with their words, until of course Corlys Velaryon shows up and puts an end to that. But the Greens, it's just a mess. Otto is gone, Alicent's too busy worrying about her own life, how many people know about her and Cole. She's now Googling A Song of Ice and Fire, the prince that was promised. She's went down the YouTube rabbit hole trying to figure out the theories. Larys is spying on everyone and he knows everything. He knows about Alicent and Cole. He creepily examines every aspect of her room when he visits her. Of course he spots the Moon Tea. And then of course there's Aemond and Cole, who devise a plan to take Rook's Rest without Egon knowing. Something Alicent agrees with, because she says just because you wear the crown doesn't make you wise. Egon could have sat and learned, but no, it was just the final nail in his coffin. Aemond showing him up with his far better ability to speak Valyrian. Egon must have goofed off during these lessons, and it kind of just sums him up. He's messed around his entire life, he's taken nothing serious, and then in an instant the crown was forced upon him. It was never going to end well, and it's not all his fault. Alison and Otto perhaps could have kept a better eye on him and taught him to be a better person along the way before throwing the crown on his head and expecting him to be a king or a puppet. And at this point, Aemond is just such a better option as king. He has the most powerful dragon, he's a better warrior, superior tactician. He's intelligent, he knows his history. He has Cole's ear and more respected by the Green Council. So at this point, Aegon's at his lowest. He decides to get drunk and then fly Sunfire into battle to prove everybody wrong, to show them how awesome he is, to show him he's worthy of the Conqueror's name. What could go wrong? But I think the MVP of this episode is definitely Princess Rhaenys. She showed us that she could do what Catelyn Stark could never do and not hate one of her husband's bastards. The queen who never was. If only she was a man, she'd be chosen as the next heir all those years ago, and this world would be so different. But alas, the Princess Rhaenys has no choice but to ride the Red Queen Meleys to Rook's Rest. She's the only choice, as she's the most experienced dragon rider on Team Black. Only Damon comes close, whereas Rhaenys is expendable. It had to be her, and even though it ended in tragedy, she went out fighting. Rhaenyra reveals the Song of Ice and Fire to Jace. It was revealed to her by her father Viserys before the skull of Balerion the Black Dread, and now she passes it on to her own heir before another one of the Conquest Dragon's skull, Meraxes, the dragon of Queen Rhaenys, the sister wife of Egon the Conqueror. And this has got me wondering whether we'll hear this tale one more time before the end, perhaps before the third and final Conquest Dragon's skull. It was a powerful moment as it was told leading up to the first dragon battle. And truth is, in the end, nobody wins these dragon battles. Dragons fight, both parties either end up wounded, or in worst case scenario, both die. And we know the only way to stop the White Walkers hundreds of years later is with the power of the dragons. Rhaenyra is fighting not only for the crown, but also for the song. But in the end, the Targaryens lose the dragons, and the realm lose their power against the White Walkers. The battle on the ground is your typical siege, defenders holding firm, but Cole's plan is revealed. Aemond and Vhagar are hiding in the forest close by, awaiting the signal. But before Vhagar can unleash fire and blood, the drunk King Egon arrives and screws everything up. Aemond, who is clearly pissed off, allows his brother to fly ahead into battle before him. Perhaps he sees an opportunity here, or perhaps he sees this as his brother screwed up, let him deal with it, I'll come in later. But this episode clearly tells us that Aemond has finally had enough of the torment from his brother over the years. From the pink dread to even last week when he humiliated him in the brothel. And it's obvious he sees himself as a more suitable king, and it's hard to disagree with that. Poor Sunfire is no match for Meleys, but just when it looks like Vhagar has arrived to provide aid, Aemond unleashes fire upon both Sunfire and Meleys, with Sunfire and Egon taking the full brunt force of the fire and fall from the sky. It's 1-on-1 now, Vhagar versus Meleys. Vhagar has the size advantage and the power, but Meleys has the speed. And Rhaenys is a far superior rider to Aemond, and the bond between Rhaenys and Meleys is true. And they actually land a few blows on Granny Godzilla. They actually make her bleed. But once Vhagar gets a hold of you, it's over. Vhagar's just too powerful and too battle experienced. And eventually Vhagar gets a hold of Meleys and chews through her neck, and both the Red Queen and the Queen who never was bow out. But no matter how many people were killed, no matter how many people dragons kill, it's always sad watching dragons rip each other apart. Because just like the Targaryens, they're a family, most of these dragons are somehow related. And the sounds they make when in pain remind me of a wounded animal. And nobody can hold it together when that happens. And I felt really bad for Sunfire, the most beautiful dragon in the realm. And he loves his rider. He gives him a little boop when he first sees Egon. But it was his rider who sent him into this world of pain, who doomed both of them, from Vhagar's fire and the fall that cripples them. But even in his own pain, Sunfire tries to protect Egon. And at this point, many people are questioning Aemond's next move. To me, it looked like Aemond was sheathing his sword, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean that Aemond wouldn't find another way to end his brother, and it's likely he would want to torment his brother before dealing the final blow, and then claim the death as an accident from the fall. And nobody will disagree with him because he has Vhagar, he's just won a battle, and he would be next in line. I imagine the Green Council will claim that Egon was crucial in Meleys' defeat, and he took a blow for his own men. But I think this is just the beginning of the Green infighting, and many will now see Aemond as the better option to be king, and I for one cannot wait to see what Aemond One-Eye's next move is. Perhaps leaving his brother to the fate of the gods, and face his true final boss and his uncle Damon at Harrenhal. But guys, what an episode. Not just the battle itself, not just Rook's Rest, but all 50 minutes or so. I think it's the best of Season 2 by far, but also it's up there with House of the Dragon as a whole. And it's not a bad Game of Thrones episode either, if I must say. And we're only halfway through Season 2, so I'm very excited to see what's next. I'm excited to see the outcome of this battle from both sides. Aegon's fate, Aemond's actions, and of course, Team Black losing one of their best riders and wisest council members. But before all that, a wife and a grandmother. This historical event won't go unanswered by either side. But guys, I want you to post your thoughts on episode 4. About Damon Targaryen at Harrenhal and his so-called weirwood visions, all the drama at King's Landing, and of course the Battle of Rook's Rest itself. But guys, I think that'll do it for today, so thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.